Good evening, everybody. My name is Ellen Lutzow, and I'm the president of Old Jamestown Association, and you are on the Zoom meeting with most of the board members are on tonight, and we have two special guests tonight. And this is our very first meeting for the public using Zoom. So bear with us because we're learning, as all of you are, I'm sure too. And we know that it was going to be impossible for us to do anything other than what we were doing in terms of in person. This was not in the question. It was not out of the question. So we are, and we may be doing this again in the spring. So this is a Zoom meeting open to about 100 people. So if you have friends who want to know if they can join, send them a message or a text message or something and tell them, yes, they can join. And you can have to probably send them the link, okay, so that they can join us. But we have two guests tonight. But before we get started with our guests, I just want to make an announcement about our finances. Generally speaking, Old Jamestown would be collecting dues from members as you had entered, for the in-person meetings. Obviously, we can't do that. And so our funds have been going down and not going up. So if you are a member and would like to renew, we'd certainly appreciate hearing from you. Our treasurer is Jim Leiniger, and I know that you could probably go onto our website or our Facebook and find out how to send us a check. And our dues are right now, am I right, Jim, $10 for an individual, 15 for family. Okay.
A full year.
So yes, and that's a 1 year dues. So if you are in a position that you can do that, and I realize that many people are not right now, but we would certainly appreciate that. We have two guests tonight. One is our new neighborhood policing officer, and we're going to introduce him to everyone. And I see him in his car.
I'm his squad car.
There he is in his car, and it's Jason. And I'm going to say it, Jason. Tell me if I do it right. Kapayou.
Yes. That's right.
Okay.
I went to Hazelwood East, so there's lots of different ways of saying it. But.
Oh, okay. So Jason is our new neighborhood policing officer. We're going to let him go first and speak first because Jason is in his car and is on duty. So he needs to go do some other stuff, police stuff. And our second speaker is our featured speaker tonight is Director Justin Wolf. He is the director for the 270 work that's being done by MoDOT. And we're going to hear more about all of that in the second part of our presentation. So tonight we're going to start though with Jason. So I'm going to let you speak and I'm going to turn off my mic and let you go ahead if I can figure out how to do that.
All right, well, I'll just start. Good evening, everybody. My name is Jason. I go by Jason. If you want to say Officer Jason, that's fine, but otherwise it's just Jason. At the end, I'm going to make sure everybody has my contact phone number and my contact email, but don't call me. Yeah, I check my voicemail once a day. So anybody that has called me since 1 p.m. won't get checked until tomorrow. My email is the quickest way to get a hold of me, the easiest way to get a hold of me. That goes to my phone. When I'm on vacation, I will check my messages and including my phone messages just to stay on top because I am the only one. But typically I'll just forward those on and somebody else will be the point of contact. But my job as a neighborhood policing officer now, as the role's just been redefined since I'm the only one, is the point of contact for information for the residents, is the kind of a go-between between the residents and the police department. Now, one thing I am not is I am not a supervisor. I do not direct officers. Can we hear me? All right.
Yes, we do.
Okay. I don't direct officers. I don't direct assets. I send them emails or forward the comments to the watch commanders and the captain, and then they dictate and direct. I'm more of the quality of life complaints that we don't want our officers tied down with. In fact, before I joined into this meeting, I was in a discussion between two bickering neighbors for an hour. And I explained to them what the expectations were for them when they call the police for low level complaints, such as they're playing their music too loud or their branches are falling in my driveway. Not that those are minor complaints in any way, but these two are just being petty with each other. And that's where I get involved, where I help the citizens with the things such as abandoned autos, barking dogs, loud music, uh, bickering neighbors, information. I try to put out fires. I try to solve the problems because the officers don't always have time to do it. The midnight officers send me assignments a lot because there's just things they can't get accomplished overnight. They can't make the right contacts. So they send those to me. So the first part of my day is following up for them. The rest of them, things that they send me so I can help take the load off for them. And for example, a car in the roadway that is not registered or not drivable is something I would take care of. Now, if it's a good neighbor, we don't look to target addresses or homes or anything. If it's a problem house, then we will target them. Yes, because those are the folks whose attention we want. Some of the folks, as was alluded to earlier, due to COVID and lack of funds, there's reasons why they can't get some things done, and we work with that. But for others, if you're a problem house, I don't care what your excuse is. Everybody has good manners or can have good manners at all time. That's free. So those are the homes that if there's a derelict vehicle in front of their house, I would tow that. If there's a derelict vehicle in front of an older neighbor's home who can't work anymore, we would work with them. We're not heavy-handed. We don't work to solve neighbor problems by criminalizing those things. And that's what I do. Barking dogs, if we can identify the address, then what I do is the officers love it when I get involved because I tell them to just show up and be a good witness and report back to me. They're not going to write a report. I will do the follow-up with barking dogs or loud music. The only thing I ask or that I need, because those are ordinance violations, is that you do call an officer out there and explain it to them. That way they can get involved. Information, I can give crime updates. I can give report updates. I'm the officer to call. If you see a lot of police lights down the street or on your way home, I'm the officer to call, and I will look that up and find out what that is. There's some things that are closed record, but for a lot of the information I give, it is open record that we have access to, or you have access to as a citizen, and I will provide that as much as I need, or as much as I'm allowed and you need, and also considering the privacy of the person involved and your safety and welfare. So you can use that information for yourself.
Jason, we have a question here.
Yes, I was gonna say, let's get to the questions because I could go on and on and on.
Jan, you raised your hand. Yes, unmute.
Yes, I'm trying to figure out if we need to participate.
Say something, Jan.
Hi, everybody.
Okay.
Welcome to the old Jamestown fall meeting.
You had a question for Jason? Did you have a question for Jason?
No, I think I must have done something wrong.
Okay. You raised your hand. I thought you had a question for.
No, thank you.
Okay, Jason, are you still there?
I'm still here. I'm actually typing in the chat my email address and my phone number.
Good idea. So you're just joining us. Officer Kapayou is typing in his information, his contact information, and email address.
I have a question for Jason.
Go ahead.
What hours do you work, Jason?
They float, they flex. Tonight, because of the meeting, I worked 12 to 8. Yesterday I was off. Tuesday I worked 9 to 5. Typically on a normal day without assignments, it's 9 to 5, 10 to 6. I tend to stay later to make sure our day shift officers go home on time to their families. So I'll stay and I'll actually be in the role of a patrol officer between 3 and 4:30 just to help them out. And but typically I can flex my hours out since I'm the only one.
Okay, thank you.
Now I will say this: if you email me at 3 o'clock in the morning, typically I'm up around 5:30, so I may not reply right at 5:30, but I wake up at 5:30 because I like to go run in the morning. So I'll see it. Doesn't matter when you message me. Don't worry about waking me up. There's nothing in my role, in my assignment as a neighborhood policing officer that's an emergency. So it won't bother me, and then I'll get back with you.
Rosemary, you have a question? Rosemary? Hello?
While we're waiting for questions, I will say this. I know I made mention a little bit ago that I don't direct assets. A lot of officers will do favors for me, which is ultimately a favor for them because I'm making it easy for them. But if there is ever a question about patrol services or dissatisfaction with patrol services, feel free to email me also. But the on-duty supervisor at that time is the only one that can correct it. I'm not able to direct officers, especially if I'm not working, like I was off yesterday, then I wouldn't be able to do that. But for the quality of life stuff, you get with me, and they're usually addressed within a day or two. This is something I've started since I've become the only NPO, is once a week, just not during November because they like to hunt, but the inspector will ride along with me once a week. So for those bigger problem homes, I actually go with them and we both make contact with the resident. So if there is a problem house that, typically I might just do my part on my own, they might do their part on their own. Once a week for a couple of hours, we'll actually go together and double team a problem house.
I had a question about, if I could ask about burning leaves. I'm not clear on what the county or I guess the law is about a neighbor burning leaves in his driveway.
And I'm going to pull that link up too. So forgive me while I'm not looking, but I'm going to show you that. However, it's 16 square feet that, and it has to be, it's essentially you're burning brush, leaves and the like. And that's ultimately it has to be covered. And there are certain periods where you're not allowed to burn. But I'm going to find, okay, I found it. Well, it's blackjack. Okay. I'm still going to make a copy of this. Am I still on?
You're still on.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to send this here, but this is from blackjack. So this should, I don't know how you would copy that or all. I don't know if it's just a link.
Okay.
If you can't read it, but I will read it actually here. Word for word. Clear that off. Prior to any recreational burn, residents must contact their local fire protection district. Only clean, untreated wood may be burned, and the burn area is limited to 16 square feet. Bonfires must be monitored at all times, and there must be a way to extinguish the fire readily available. The smoke, soot, or cinders of bonfires must not become a nuisance to any neighbors. Okay. So, and here's what happens when we get that, because when I worked midnights, I'm going to put the video back on. When I worked the midnight shift, we would have, some bonfires, people would keep it warm, and we'd tell them to put it out, and they would. But the type of information that officers share on roll call is not, hey, somebody was burning things over at 123 Smith Street. It's, hey, there was a domestic at 123 Smith Street, and the person we arrested said they're going to come back. That's the kind of information we share. And again, that's where I come in for a lot of these, what some may consider low-level calls, and I don't want to bother the police. I'm the one to bother with that. Because then I can those assets I can direct on how to handle it.
Okay.
What's easier for you? Because if I tell them, hey, I need you to do it this way. If you do it this way, you don't have to write a report. And almost any officer, if you dangle that carrot in front of them, will do it so they don't have to write a report.
Okay.
Okay, we have
if
another question. I'm
There
sorry.
is I'm sorry, there is a part of it, if the smoke is really filling up the street, we can call and make a
Oh, yes,
complaint.
that's in there. It can't be a nuisance to the neighbors.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Patty
Uh,
also call me, or we'll talk about it. I have a lot of experience in burning. I do that every spring or early spring. And because of the prairie and everything, and I can fill you in on what the rules are, how to go about doing it.
Okay, thank
we have a
you.
question from Rethel or Rethel. I don't know. I'm sorry, I mispronounced your name.
That's all right. It's Rethel.
Rethel, okay.
And my question for Jason is about how do I get one of those county stickers to put in the window that says that there's a special needs person here in my home. My mother is 90 and she can wander away, and I need to get a sticker to put in the window. And also the medic alert people said register with your neighborhood police station, which I tried to do 2 years ago up on at the substation, I guess, and it was never open, so I never was able to do it, and I just don't know what to do about that part.
Okay, and this brings up a good point. I'll answer your question there in just a moment. But if you need something from county government services and Ellen or somebody else can't direct you there, then contact me and I'll do the legwork and find out where that goes.
Okay.
But to answer your question, I have the stickers. I don't have them. They're at the station. I know where they are, so I can put them in the window. And as far as notifying, putting an alert on the address, I actually got a phone call from a resident today verifying their older parents were still on there, and they were. So what you'll do is you'll just email me a contact number. Again, just email me. That way I have a record of it. So don't put it on here because I don't know how to.
Right.
I'm a novice at this, but email me. Both those email addresses are the same. They're just coded differently.
Okay.
But, email me your name, address, and I'll call you. And what we do is we send an alert. So let's say you live at 123 Smith Street, and we get called to 123 Brown Street, which is a street over. Well, that alert, if it's within a reasonable distance, will bring up that says, hey, this gentleman has dementia and he wanders off and he belongs here. Because about 3 weeks ago, I returned somebody home that way.
All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And again, we don't have to have every question answered now. If you have questions, feel free to email the board and me. That way everybody's on the same page. Or if you just want to email me, that's fine also. It doesn't matter when. Like I said, I will get back with you. You will always get a response unless I'm on vacation. And if I'm off, you'll get it the first business day back. But during the week, I'm married with no kids. I told the wife, go do your own dinner tonight. She's fine with that. She's not worried. She's going to watch her TV or whatever she's doing. So there isn't a whole lot. I'm very flexible to my schedule. I know earlier in the year when the protests were threatened back in May, they put me on midnights. I came in at 3 p.m. The captain told me, hey, tomorrow you're coming in at 6 p.m. working 12-hour shifts with no days off the rest of the time like everybody else. And I'm okay. I'm very flexible. I can work with that.
Jason, I did have one quick question before we let you go. And maybe you alluded to it. You are the neighborhood policing officer for Old Jamestown Association's area, basically 63034 zip code, right?
Correct. I'm for the whole entire precinct.
That's what I wanted to clear up.
Yeah,
I go to Village. I go to
the neighborhood policing officer.
I go to Spanish Lake. Last week I was, or on Tuesday I was in Parker Estates. It's Heatherton Estates. I put out, quote unquote, all the fires.
Okay.
Or at least try to, or at least get the information to share with everybody.
So Jason, is there an idea with one that then you would spread it out as it needs to go out to the officers for support? Is that the idea?
Well, I let them know so they know if something comes to me, because a lot of officers, they say, oh, we have a guy for that. Or they'll just call the station and refer it to me. Where I'll give that example. The two neighbors that don't get along and they want to call the police all the time. Yeah. I set the standards and the guidelines for what they should expect when they call the police. So when I'm done here, I'm going to create an email and send it to all the officers. So all the officers, when they respond to this this address or the next door neighbor's address, they know what the expectations are.
Okay.
So,
And I
Excellent.
think I accidentally cut somebody off in their.
I just want one question before you leave.
that's
Do
okay.
you have any facts or any crime stats to share with us, or things we should be watching for out in our area in Old Jamestown?
I do. And what I will do is I will make a copy of it, and I'll put a link and then send it back to the email to Ellen, and she can share it with everybody. And the kinds of things the kinds of things that I put in there, because it is a large area. I only put in the property crimes. And the reason I do that, I'm not trying to hide people crimes, but for the most part in North County, if there's a people crime, they usually know each other, or they're familiar with each other, or they were targeted as, maybe it was just out of anger because they know each other. We very rarely have any people crimes that are random. So having said that, if you have a question about something, because you think I left it out, I didn't leave it out. I'll still share it with everybody. If it's within 30 days, I can give some details, but the reason I give out the property crimes is because those are the types of the home life crimes. If somebody, they wrote a report for somebody breaking into a car, that's one you'd want to know, right?
Exactly.
Or
Right.
somebody stole from a shed. That's something you'd want to know. And if it's near you, I do blot out the numerics. So it may say such and such, Old Halls Ferry, blank, 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 Old Halls Ferry Road.
Yeah.
And I will put a line through a business. I'll still let you see that it was a business, but I'll put a line through it so you know that my only focus is with the residents. So that is something that I can do. I say every 2 weeks I can start doing that or so.
We
That
would
way,
we would love that.
It's within 30 days of the sunshine law, and it's not too much to read through. But like I said, with that being such a large area, it's going to seem like, oh my goodness, but you have to remember that this is it's just going to be very in depth. And if you have particular questions when you see that, you can also email me.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Jason.
You're welcome. Everybody have a great night, and thank you.
Thank
Stay
you,
safe.
Jason.
Thank you.
You all,
Thank you.
Stay safe.
everybody.
Yes. Well, now we're going to shift gears a little bit, and we're going to introduce our second speaker, Mr. Justin Wolf, who is the director for the MoDOT's work on 270. And he's going to talk to us about what they're doing, what they have done, and what the plans are. And I'll let Justin take it from here. Justin?
One quick
Oh,
thing for Justin. A number of our people are just tuning in on their phone, so they're not seeing your screen. So
just kind of explain.
it's over here, they won't be able to see that.
Okay.
Yeah, it may be challenging to
Yeah.
visualize a lot of the stuff that I'll be showing here.
It comes up on the phone, but it's pretty small, which is why I also have the computer out.
Let me try that again. Screen. Okay, let me get this
There we
rolling.
go.
So you can see,
Yes.
those of you that can see my PowerPoint. Okay, again, I'm Justin Wolf. I'm the project director for the I-270 North Design Build project. And tonight I'm here to give you a presentation and give you some history behind this project and give you an update of where we're at and answer any questions that you might have. So first I want to take you back and down memory lane here. I have a few photos from when 270 was first built. And if you see my cursor here, right here is Old Halls Ferry over 270. And here you can see New Halls Ferry going underneath. Again, this is from the 1960s, and you can see it's a lot different looking back then than it is today. It's a lot, see a lot of open land that's out there. This is a picture also from the 60s looking to the west. Again, my cursor is showing the Old Halls Ferry Bridge. You can see these subdivisions that were probably built around the 50s or 60s. And again, you can see there's a lot of open ground. This is definitely the outer ring of St. Louis County there. It hadn't really been developed. This is from 2014. This is an aerial photo showing the Old Halls Ferry interchange with 270. And here you can see Interstate 270 is now 3 lanes going both east and west. And you can see that there's a little bit more development around the interstate. And this photo is looking to the east and is taken from West Florissant. And you can see, if I get my cursor right, again, this is Old Halls Ferry way back here, New Halls Ferry coming underneath 270. And you can just see that there's a lot more businesses along 270 that have developed, from the 1960s. And then finally, I have a photo from the 1960s that shows the Limburg interchange. And here, Limburg was a true cloverleaf interchange. And here is the Village Square Shopping Center, probably shortly after it was built. One note is the I-270 North Design Build team, we're all stationed here. Our project office is right out of Village Square. We're office number 7 right here. So we're right on site and available to get out onto the project. And this photo actually shows back in the day in the 1960s, Taylor-Lynnhaven was an at-grade signalized intersection. It wasn't an interchange. So you can see Dunn Road comes along here and comes up to Taylor, and this signalized intersection is how people get across to go Dunn to the west, or they'd get on to Limburg. So looking down here to the lower right, this is taken again probably in 2014. By that time, we had removed one of the loop ramps from that cloverleaf. And you can see here that Limburg does travel over Taylor-Lynnhaven.
Yeah.
And I'll talk a bit more about that intersection and some of its challenges here as we move forward. So Interstate 270 North is a route of regional, national, and local significance. It's a national freight highway. It's a Department of Defense route. Interstate 270 serves as the commercial vehicle route for a lot of freight that moves around St. Louis County. And Interstate 270 North really serves as the trailhead for freight and travelers coming from the east, wanting to go west on to Interstate 70. So this section of Interstate 270, MoDOT started studying this about 8 years ago from Interstate 70 all the way to the Chain of Rocks Bridge. And this section of 270 is about 14.5 miles, and there's a lot going on with this section. You can see we have highways like Route 370, we have Limburg, we have Route 367. All of these routes carry nearly 50,000 vehicles per day. Interstate 270 itself carries 140,000 vehicles per day on it. And Interstate 170 carries about either a little bit less than 80,000 vehicles on and off of Interstate 270 each day. So that gives you just a magnitude of how many people are traveling along this corridor. And those photos I showed you, that this interstate was built in the 1960s. So a lot has changed from the 1960s to where we are now with just the development that's occurred and the number of vehicles traveling on it. But back when MoDOT started studying this corridor, we looked at this corridor and tried to identify the needs along this corridor. And it is pretty obvious. One of the primary needs was the need to improve the condition of the existing infrastructure. So this photo here to the right, this is the bridge that takes Interstate 270 over New Florissant. And you can see this fencing that's in between the girders here. That fencing is there to protect cars from concrete that's falling off of the deck and falling down. And this picture over here on the left, this is actually a picture taken of the bridge deck over New Florissant. This was back in January of 2019, or maybe 2020. A hole developed in that deck, and we had to shut down and do emergency repairs. And I believe that emergency repair, we had to shut down a couple lanes, and that resulted in, you know, a traffic queue that backed up all the way to Route 367. And more recently, just actually it was last weekend, this is on the lower left, this is a picture of Interstate 270 over Coldwater Creek. And last weekend, westbound 270 over Coldwater Creek, again, we had to have an emergency repair. You see this concrete here, this is the approach to that bridge deck, and that concrete's just falling apart. It's, you know, it's reaching the end of its life. So we had to shut down a couple lanes and do an emergency repair. And again, it causes a big traffic delay. And these emergency repairs are, you know, they're unplanned. They're just Band-Aids that are, you know, we're putting on these bridges because these bridges are reaching the end of their service life. And you can see here, these numbers here, where 270 crosses over Coldwater Creek, or it crosses over New Florissant or New Halls Ferry. You know, we're approaching anywhere between 110 to 140,000 vehicles per day. But one significant thing to look at is how many trucks are crossing over these bridges. So in the case of Coldwater Creek, you know, we have 22,000 trucks that cross over that bridge each day. And trucks really cause a lot of wear and tear on bridges and on pavement. So this interstate's really starting to show its age. The other thing that the study identified is we do have congestion, traffic congestion problems on Interstate 270. So generally in the morning, if you're a commuter and you're commuting your rush hour, you're going to have congestion if you're traveling to the west. So from Route 367 all the way almost to 170, if you're going westbound, you're going to have traffic delays in the morning rush hour. In the evening rush, you're going to have traffic impacts if you're traveling east that start all the way back towards McDonald Boulevard. It's going to be really slow going all the way to the Chain of Rocks Bridge. So we know that basically this interstate does have congestion problems, specifically at those commuting rush hours. And with the study, we also identified that 270 North has a higher crash rate than a lot of other interstates in the area. And again, a lot of this is really attributed to this interstate was originally constructed in the 1960s. And, you know, the design that worked fine in the 1960s with the volumes that were out there back then, it doesn't work great now. And we know that we have safer designs now than what we had back in the 60s. We've learned a lot in the last 60 years about highway design and highway safety. One other thing to note is when the interstates were being constructed, highway designers were not thinking about non-motorized users. So this picture over here on the right, we call that like a goat path. And what it's a sign that people are obviously walking along here to you know, get to destinations. And in this section along 270, about 9% of households do not have access to a motorized vehicle. So there's a significant number of people that are relying on walking to their destination or using transit to get to their destination. And what we see is Interstate 270 really acts as a barrier for people traveling, either wanting to go north or south of Interstate 270. There's not many places where you can safely cross 270. So unfortunately, we do have situations where people try to run across the interstate, and we have had pedestrians that have been hit and killed. And just a month ago, there's a 12-year-old boy that got hit and killed. It was south of here, it's down near Dorset. But again, it's a tragedy when we have a human being that, you know, is struck and killed on an interstate or any you know, road for that matter. So we know that Interstate 270 wasn't really designed with non-motorized users in mind. So why did we choose to deliver the Interstate 270 North project as a design build project? So I think most of you are probably familiar with the new I-64 project that was initiated back in about 2008, where they reconstructed I-64 from Spady all the way towards Kings Highway. That was like the first design build project that MoDOT did. And since then, the St. Louis district has had multiple other design build projects, such as the Daniel Boone Bridge, the Page Phase 3 section, the 141 and 44 interchange, and we had a safety design build recently. And all of these projects have been delivered successfully. And that's why we chose the design build method to deliver the I-270 North project. And just to put it in context, MoDOT has on average each year 440 projects that are constructed each year. And those are traditional projects where MoDOT will either design them in-house or we hire a consultant to design those projects. And then they come up with basically the quantities necessary to build that bridge or that road. And then contractors bid on that, that project, and the low bid, contractor with the low bid is awarded that project. And so we do 440 of those a year on average in Missouri for MoDOT. And on the other hand, we only do 2 or 3 design build projects a year. And it's sort of a different form of project delivery. And I could go in depth into the whole concept with design build, but it works great when we're talking about projects like 270 North, where we have a lot of money and we're trying to solve a lot of problems. And so that's why we chose the design build method to tackle this project. So this is the team that I lead at MoDOT. We have 9 people. We've been working for the last couple of years. We wrote the contract and we developed the request for proposals for teams. So we've been working closely together on this project for a couple of years. We're a pretty close-knit team. And one of the first things we developed were our project goals. So design build projects are goal-driven projects. And these goals are in order of importance, really. So the first goal is that we are going to be on time and on budget. The second goal that we set out for this project is we wanted to maximize reliability and safety while linking communities for all users. The third goal is to provide a durable and maintainable transportation network, making Interstate 270 the conduit for a prosperous region. The fourth goal was to grow and utilize a diverse workforce. And the fifth goal is to minimize and mitigate impacts to customers through innovation. So again, our total budget is a $278 million project. That included a lot of the preliminary engineering that was done for this corridor, the surveying and the engineering that we did to get a conceptual design. We also knew that we had to purchase right-of-way for this project. And we did know that MoDOT did have to relocate utilities. So we had money set aside for relocating utilities and buying right-of-way. So that left us with $246 million for a fixed price, best value design build contract. So that's the number that we basically put on the table and told the design build teams, we have $246 million. What can you give us for that $246 million that's going to meet all those goals that we lined out for them earlier? So back in April of 2019, we issued a request for qualifications, basically looking for design build teams that had the design experience and the contracting experience that we were comfortable that they could deliver a project of this magnitude. And then by June of 2019, we had issued the request for proposal. And then from late June into September, we met one-on-one with the design build teams, working with them to vet out ideas and to, try to mitigate or retire some of the risks that they had identified and try to push them to come up with innovative solutions. So the project was awarded on November 6th of 2019. And we did have 2 teams that competed for this project. One was KCI Clarkson Joint Venture, and the other team was Milson Weber in associations with Parsons. And Milson Weber, in association with Parsons, was the winning team. And so from here on out, I will be showing you their proposal and giving you details on what their design was and what they're building now. So this slide here, this kind of gives you an idea of the magnitude of this project. So we're starting out towards McDonald Boulevard. We're going to be resurfacing Dunn Road all the way to Lindbergh. We're going to be completely rebuilding the Lindbergh and 270 interchange. We're going to be doing some work on widening on Interstate 170. And then we're going to be rebuilding multiple interchanges all along from Hanley Graham to Route 367. And then the Route 367 interchange is going to be completely rebuilt. And then we're also doing work at Bell Fountain. So I'll go into more detail on each of these locations as we move through. But one of the highlights that I would like to talk about is that we will be adding an additional lane in each direction of 270 from Lindbergh all the way to Route 367. So right now, the Interstate 270 is 3 lanes in each direction, and it will now accommodate 4 lanes in each direction from Lindbergh all the way to Route 367. The Lindbergh interchange, let me talk a little bit about this. So some of the issues with the Lindbergh interchange and how it operates right now is if you're traveling westbound on 270 and you want to go north on Lindbergh, you exit 270 and then you have to come up and you have to stop at a signal at Taylor and wait to go through that signal to continue on your way onto northbound Lindbergh. And the same thing if you're traveling south on Lindbergh wanting to go westbound on 270, again, you have to go through a signalized intersection to go on to westbound 270. So again, I talked earlier, this is, I guess I'd say it's a partial cloverleaf at this point, but cloverleaf interchanges are great interchanges in more rural areas and when you have lower volumes. And we've learned a lot in the transportation industry about different interchange options, and cloverleafs have their place, but we've learned a lot about new interchange designs, and the Milson Weber and Parsons team came up with a really innovative design to tackle the Lindbergh and 270 interchange. So here, where my cursor is right here, this is where the existing Lindbergh over 270 bridge would be. And if you've been out to the site recently, you'll see that they've set up girders for the northbound Lindbergh bridge. So we're gonna have 2 separate structures when this project's complete. One will carry Lindbergh northbound over 270, and northbound Lindbergh will also cross over Dunn Road, and then it will continue on and it'll go over Taylor Lynnhaven on that bridge. One thing to note here is that Dunn Road is being made to be continuous through this interchange. So again, Dunn Road's going to go underneath northbound Lindbergh, then it's going to rise up and there'll be a signalized intersection with Dunn Road and southbound Lindbergh right here. And then if you're going southbound, you'll be able to get onto westbound 270 there, and there'll be a structure to take southbound Lindbergh down. So we have basically 2 separate structures that are going to accommodate southbound and northbound Lindbergh. And we do have 5 signalized intersections here. But these signalized intersections are all going to be programmed to operate together so that we can program them and get traffic to flush through, and we can have a coordinated system where we can minimize the amount of time people have to spend at a signalized intersection. One of the other things that actually both teams identified this during the one-on-ones is they identified that some of the congestion that we experience on Interstate 270 is caused by a bottleneck on southbound 170. And so southbound 170, it does neck down to 2 lanes for a section. It's about 3/4 of a mile before you get to airport that it goes down to 2 lanes. And that 2 lane can cause congestion back onto 270. So both teams actually proposed doing widening on Interstate 170 side of 270. So Wilson Weber team proposed, basically taking the existing shoulders, removing those and replacing those with full depth pavement, restriping 3 12-foot lanes going southbound on Interstate 170. And they've actually completed this. They completed this earlier this summer. So now Interstate 170 is now 3 lanes all the way down to Airport. And that is helping out relieve congestion on 270 itself. So this photo right here is an aerial photo that shows the 170 and 270 interchange and Hanley Graham, you can see over here. And one thing I want to point out here is we have an on-ramp onto westbound 270 here. And this is for Dunn Road. So if you're traveling west on Dunn Road, you can get onto westbound 270 here. But if you're on Dunn Road and you're traveling eastbound, you cannot get onto that westbound on-ramp. And this is one of the, what we call, it's a crossover slip ramp. So if you're traveling west on Dunn and you want to get on that on-ramp, you have to yield to the traffic that's traveling eastbound on Dunn and find like a break in time that you can cross over there to get onto that on-ramp. So both teams came up with a similar solution and proposed a roundabout here at the near Hanley Graham to allow Dunn Road to have access to that westbound on-ramp near 170. So now if you're traveling eastbound on Dunn, you'll be able to get right onto the westbound on-ramp. And if you're traveling like west on Dunn, you'll just go through the roundabout to get onto the westbound on-ramp, or you just continue through. So this is allowing us to get rid of that at-grade crossover slip ramp and keep Dunn Road two-directional, two-way between Limburg and Hanley Graham. Next, I'm gonna move on to the Route 367 interchange with 270. This is a true cloverleaf interchange. There's not many of these left along Interstate 270. So one of the issues with cloverleaf interchanges is when you get really high traffic volumes, the areas where I have these arrows here, these are areas where someone's trying to get on the interstate. They have to merge over while people that are trying to exit the interstate to go south on Lewis and Clark. You have this area of weaving that causes a lot of turbulence. And when we get like high volumes, and it's both going north and south and east and west there. But when we have volumes like this, where we know we have 17,000 vehicles per day going southbound on Route 367 to go westbound on 270. And we have 15,000 vehicles a day going eastbound 270 to northbound 367. So we have volumes that, back in the 1960s they weren't experiencing those volumes. So this interchange design, it's really reaching the limits of how it can operate efficiently and safely. So the Wilson Weber and Parsons team, what they propose is what we call a partial turbine interchange. So if you're traveling eastbound on Interstate 270, 2 lanes are going to split off from eastbound 270, and they're going to travel along and they're going to cross over a new bridge over Lewis and Clark. They're going to take this curve and they'll cross over another new bridge over 270, and they'll continue on onto northbound Route 367. So this is what we call a directional ramp. So these cars never have to go exit. They basically get a directional ramp to get from eastbound 270 to northbound 367. We're also going to be adding an additional lane for southbound 367 to westbound 270. And you can see we're actually adding 2 signalized intersections here at 367, one up here, and these are called green T's. And so the reason they're called a green T is if you're traveling north on Route 367 here, you're never going to get a red light. It's only the cars that are traveling south that occasionally will get a red light, so that cars going northbound can make a left to get onto the on-ramp to go westbound on 270. And the same thing down here, there'll be a signalized intersection to allow cars to get onto eastbound 270.
Cool.
One other benefit that the Wilson Weber team is proposing is they're actually building a brand new bridge over 270. I think we're calling this the Pershaw Bridge over 270. So this is just west of the Route 367 interchange. They're going to be building a new bridge that's going to connect Dunn Road to Pershaw Road. And it will also have a barrier separated sidewalk to allow people to cross over and, for pedestrians to cross Interstate 270 there. So there's some reasons why they're doing this, and it's to provide connectivity for the people that live up north here so that they can come down and use Pershaw to access Old Halls Ferry. And I'll get in some more of the reasonings on that in a second here. The next thing I want to move down to the easternmost portion of our project. It's at Bell Fountain Road. So here where my cursor is at, if you're traveling westbound on 270 and you want to exit to Bell Fountain, you take this exit and you'll exit and you'll come up to the Bell Fountain signalized intersection. But if you're on Dunn Road and you're traveling eastbound, you have to yield to that traffic coming off of the interstate. And if you're traveling on Dunn Road and you're traveling west, that's one of those situations where you'll be driving along and you have to stop and you have to look behind your shoulder and look to the cars coming off of the interstate and make sure that they're not going too fast and that you're seeing them. And so again, this is one of the at-grade crossover slip ramps. And so the Millstone Weber team is eliminating that exit ramp altogether. So they're going to eliminate that exit ramp from westbound 270 to Dunn there. And what they're going to do is they're going to have that traffic travel west on 270. It's going to cross over the Bell Fountain Bridge, and they're going to build a new ramp. It's going to connect in right here where this existing signal is to get onto westbound 270. But they're replacing the signal with a roundabout. So this is the westbound 270 exit ramp to get to Bell Fountain. So now you'll cross over Bell Fountain, come here, and you'll just make a U to come back down on Dunn Road to come back down to Bell Fountain. And again, this roundabout will provide access onto and off of Interstate 270. So these are two sections that we were able to keep Dunn Road to be two directional, two ways. So between Old Halls Ferry to the east, Dunn Road will remain a two-way outer road. And on the western portion of the project, Dunn Road between Hanley Graham and Lindbergh will continue to be a two-way outer road. So moving into the section in between Lindbergh and Route 367, one thing I want to point out is we're adding a substantial amount of facilities for non-motorized users. We're actually building 10 miles of multi-use path here. You can see in the pink represents the multi-use path that's going to be traveling along Dunn Road on the north side. So it goes all the way from Lindbergh to Breezy Point Lane on the north side on Dunn. And along Pershaw, it goes from Hanley Graham to Old Halls Ferry. And all these new bridges that we're building, we are making sure that we have ADA or pedestrian facilities so that people can safely cross over or under 270 at all of these locations. So some of these crossings will have both an 8-foot wide sidewalk or a multi-use path, and then on the other side of the bridge, there'll be a 5-foot sidewalk. So the multi-use path that's going to run along Dunn and Pershaw, it's going to be separated from Dunn and Pershaw by a 3-foot curb and gutter, and then a 3-foot green space. And then that multi-use path will be 8 feet wide to accommodate people that are either walking or biking along the Dunn or Pershaw. So again, we're adding 6 miles along Dunn and 4 miles along Pershaw for a total of 10 miles of new multi-use path along the interstate. So here's this section between Hanley Graham and Old Halls Ferry. And this is, we have, I think, 4 miles of interstate here with 6 interchanges. We have 18 on and off ramps. So with my cursor here, these purple lines represent on ramps onto 270 or off ramps from 270 onto the outer road. So this upper green line, this represents Dunn Road. The lower green green line represents Pershaw. And you can see Pershaw is disconnected. There is no Pershaw between New Florissant and Washington Elizabeth in this scenario. And then there's a section of Pershaw between New Halls Ferry and Old Halls Ferry that's a one-way section of Pershaw. And can everyone see? Okay, that should work. So again, we have 18 on and off ramps through this 4-mile section of Interstate 270. And we have a lot going on, and this causes a lot of turbulence and weaving going along on this section of the interstate. So the Millstone Weber team proposed, I guess I'm going to showcase some of the, again, the at-grade crossover. So here, this is just west of West Florissant. So if you're wanting to get on to westbound 270, you'll come up here and you'll have to cross eastbound Dunn Road to get onto the interstate. Same thing, if you're exiting 270, you'll cross and you'll come over here. But if you're traveling east on Dunn Road, you have to stop and make sure that cars aren't coming off the highway. And if you're traveling west on Dunn, that's where you have to stop and look over your shoulder and time it right so that you can continue on and not get in a car crash. So the Millstone Weber proposal, what they're doing is they're consolidating the number of on and off ramps from 18 on and off ramps through this section down to 14 on and off ramps. And part of how they're doing that is they're converting Dunn Road and Pershaw Road into one-way outer roads between Hanley Graham and Old Halls Ferry. So as you can see up here on Dunn Road, just east of Old Halls Ferry, Dunn Road's going to get converted to a one-way road that will travel west all the way to Graham. Pershaw will be converted to a one-way outer road that will go all the way, they'll travel east from Hanley all the way to Old Halls Ferry. And again, these will be 2 lanes traveling in one direction. Now, one of the things with when we convert 2-way outer roads to one-way outer roads is it does result in some additional travel distance that people have to travel to get to their destination. So one of the ways that we can mitigate that is by adding what we call U-turn bridges. There's a lot of these that they use in Texas. A lot of people call them Texas turns. So if you're traveling on Pershaw and you want to get to Johnny Londoff Chevrolet, now you won't be able to take Dunn Road up to Johnny Londoff. You're going to have to take Pershaw up here, but you can take the U-turn bridge and you'll never have to go through the signalized intersection. And then you can basically take a U-turn to go from eastbound Pershaw to westbound Dunn to get to your destination of Johnny Londoff. We also have a U-turn bridge at West Florissant to help keep, as many people that we can keep out of that signalized intersection. That these are folks that just want to go, they want to go on to Dunn. So this is a chance for them to stay out of the signalized intersection and not be stopped at the signal to make that movement. So one of the other innovative solutions is the Millstone Weber proposed building a bus-only lane to connect the Metro North County Transit Center to the Full Valley Community College. So I have some better graphics that will show that, but there's going to be a bus-only connect that transit center to the community college. And moving over here to the right here, this is where that bonus bridge is that I was showing you that's just west of Route 367. Can't see my cursor. So what that helps do is that helps provide connectivity for the subdivisions that are along Dunn. If they want to get south, they can come and take that bridge and work their way back to Old Halls Ferry if they can't access their subdivision from Old Halls Ferry up here. This gives them a way to access their subdivision. So again, so what this is able to do is it eliminates some of these crossovers. So now if you're traveling going westbound on Dunn, you never have to cross traffic to get onto Interstate 270 going westbound. Your lane basically just slips right onto the highway. Same thing if you exit Interstate 270 going west, you'll have your own lane and you just come running in parallel to the cars that are traveling on Dunn Road going westbound. So we've eliminated those crossovers that are really a relic of the 1960s design that, that design worked fine in the 1960s, but we have safer designs and we can eliminate really, we know that these at-grade crossovers are not the safest solution. So as we're coming in here to spend $278 million to modernize this interstate, this was a chance to take away some of those or to improve the safety at some of these locations. So this slide here shows a bit better graphic of the bus only lane that's going to connect the Metro bus stop. So there'll be a bus, like the buses can pull out here and they'll go on this purple line and they can either go to West Florissant or they can continue north or south on West Florissant, or they can continue on this lane and it'll go underneath West Florissant and it'll be barrier separated from eastbound 270. And then that bus lane will travel up and it'll end in a roundabout that turns the bus around. And this is a rendering. So this would be like looking south. So this bus lane is going to come up and this roundabout will allow it to either go into the Full Valley campus or to come up here and pull off, and we'll have our new bus stop located up here for the Full Valley transit folks. So the people traveling east on Pershaw, they do not have this roundabout prevents them from going the wrong way into the bus only lanes. So some of the other reliability features that we're getting on this project is we're getting 21 new high definition CCTV cameras. And those are the cameras that our traffic management center uses to monitor the interstate so that when there's a car crash, they can see that with those cameras and they can dispatch our emergency responders to that crash site. Or if there's even like debris on the highway, they can identify that there's some debris using these cameras and dispatch our motorist assist to go out there or our maintenance folks to go out and get that debris off the highway. We're also adding 5 new dynamic message signs. So those are the DMS boards. Those will be the new color DMS boards that we have on some of the other interstates now. And then we're going to be replacing 18 signals along the outer roads. So, I mean, and these are complete new signal reconstructions where we're going to have brand new signal mast arms, signals, everything, all new ADA facilities and everything. And this picture I have over here on the right, this is related to the dynamic trailblazer signs. And so this is one of the other innovative ideas they have with this proposal. With now that they're converting Pershaw and Dunn to be one-way outer roads, we're going to have 2 lanes going in one direction. So think about if there's a crash on Interstate 270 and you're traveling on Dunn Road, these boards right here, what we can do is we can program them so that the arrow will tell you that don't take this on-ramp onto 270, continue going on Dunn Road to the next on-ramp so that you can bypass that crash or that congestion that's occurring there. So the one-way outer roads being 2 lanes, we can get more vehicles through there, and it allows us to basically have a backup system so that, when there is a crash on Interstate 270, that traffic can move better through the whole system. Cool. So some highlights of the 270 North project. Again, the Lindbergh interchange is being completely rebuilt, is what we're calling a split diamond. We're adding an additional lane from on Interstate 270 itself in each direction from Lindbergh to Route 367. We're adding a roundabout near Hanley Graham to allow access for both eastbound and westbound Dunn to the westbound on-ramp to 270. The Route 367 interchange, which is a cloverleaf, is being replaced as a 2-lane partial turbine interchange. It's very similar to the 270 and Page or 270 and Route 364 interchange in design, if you can picture that. We're going to be improving 9 interchanges through this corridor, and we're adding 10 miles of shared or multi-use path through this corridor. We're replacing 12 bridges, and building 7 new bridges. And again, we're replacing 18 signalized intersections, and we're converting Dunn and Pershaw Road to one-way out roads to eliminate all of those crossover slip ramps. And right here, I want to go through a VISM fly through, and this I'll pause at certain places, but this is going to help visualize what this project would look like. And I'm going to pause it right away. So we're starting out at the Lindbergh and 270 interchange. So right now we're kind of looking to the northeast, and you can see where my cursor is. That's the existing Lindbergh bridge that's out there now. That bridge is going to be demolished. And right now, if you've been out there, you can see that they put the girders up for the northbound Lindbergh bridge. So that's where that's going to be located. And starting next summer, they're going to start working on the southbound Lindbergh bridge, which will be built over here. And once these 2 bridges are built, it'll allow them to put traffic onto the new bridges, and then they'll go in and they'll demolish the old Lindbergh bridge. But again, one of the key things here is northbound Lindbergh will cross over 270, and it will also cross over Dunn Road. And one other key feature is that if you're traveling westbound on 270 and you exit, you'll exit and you'll continue north on Lindbergh, you'll cross over Dunn Road, and you'll continue on, and you'll be able to stay on Lindbergh and go over the Taylor-Lynn Haven interchange. So we're restriping that to be 3 lanes going northbound and 3 lanes going southbound over that Taylor-Lynn Haven road. And again, Dunn Road is continuous through here. It rises up, and there'll be a signalized intersection at Lindbergh, or southbound Lindbergh and Dunn will have a signalized intersection. So I'm gonna move forward with this is the traffic modeling software that we use. We simulate traffic, because when we're designing this, we're actually designing it for traffic volumes that we anticipate in the year 2040. So this interstate is going to operate very well for many, many years to come. So here we are moving to the east, and I'll pause right here. So this is that roundabout that's allowing cars that are going east on Dunn Road will be able to just loop around and get onto the westbound on-ramp. Cars traveling west on Dunn will just go through the roundabout and get right back on to the westbound on-ramp. So that's basically the way that we're eliminating that crossover slip ramp and allowing access to both eastbound and westbound Dunn onto westbound 270. So again, we'll be adding an additional lane on 270 underneath 170 here. So it'll be 4 lanes in both eastbound and westbound. Here's the Hanley-Graham interchange. We'll be adding an additional lane underneath the Hanley-Graham bridge. Not much other work is occurring to that bridge because it was reconstructed in the early 2000s. I'm gonna pause right here. This is New Florissant. So this is that bridge that I showed you earlier that had the fencing underneath.
Yeah.
It's catching the concrete that's spalling off. So we're gonna be rebuilding this bridge, and it's gonna carry 4 lanes of traffic going eastbound and westbound over that intersection. And it's gonna accommodate more lanes going north and south. And we're actually gonna have dual lefts going north to go onto Dunn, and dual lefts going from southbound New Florissant on to Pershaw. So it's going to really improve the traffic flow through that whole interchange and both of these signalized intersections. So we'll move forward with the VISM simulation. Here we're moving up to Washington Elizabeth. So if you've been out there right now, Washington Elizabeth is the bridge that we're diligently working on right now. They anticipate the bridge will be open on December 1st. So Washington Elizabeth will be reconnected on December 1st. And if you're out there, you'll also see that there's some more girders set. And those are for that U-turn bridge to allow people going along Pershaw. And this is the new section of Pershaw that did not exist before. Over the summer, we built basically a new section of Pershaw, and that's going to allow people to come up here and make a U-turn to turn around to go westbound onto Dunn. So again, the great thing about this is it allows people to not have to go through a stoplight here. So it really improves it reduces the amount of time they spend going to their destination. And here we are, we'll be moving towards West Florissant, but I think we're going to pause. Here's the roundabout in front of Full Valley. This is the bus only lane that's going to come and connect the transit center to Full Valley. You can see Pershaw traffic just goes through that roundabout and continues on. And again, West Florissant also has a U-turn bridge to allow cars going from eastbound to go to westbound done and not have to go through the signalized intersections here. And again, we're going to be adding capacity in New Florissant. We're going to be tackling that bridge here next summer. But this right here is a simulation of the transit center, and you can see buses coming out. And buses can either go up to West Florissant and continue north and south on West Florissant, or they can continue underneath West Florissant to the community college. So here we are moving up to New Halls Ferry. Again, this is a structure that's in pretty bad shape. And again, we're doing 4 lanes in each direction over it. And we're going to be adding additional lanes underneath this bridge to help accommodate the traffic volume and traffic flow through there. So here we are with Old Halls Ferry. So this bridge is actually already constructed. If you've been out there recently, this bridge, and I have some photos after this simulation that will show it. This bridge has been constructed, it's up and running. We are still working on getting the new signal mast arms up. Right now we just have span wires for our signals, but as they get those parts in, they're going to be putting up the new signals. So we've added an additional lane going north and south on Old Halls Ferry. And then here you can see this is that bonus bridge that's going to connect Pershaw to Dunn to give that connectivity to the hospital and the different communities there. So here you see traffic traveling eastbound. There'll be 2 lanes that split off, that cross over Lewis and Clark, that again cross over 270 to go northbound onto Route 367. I'm gonna pause right here. So again, these are the green T's. So once in a while, if you're traveling southbound on 367, wanting to go down to the Veterans Home or something, occasionally you may get a red light to allow the cars that are going northbound to make a left to get on to westbound 270. Same thing here. If you're traveling southbound, you'll be able to make a left to get on to eastbound 270. But occasionally the northbound traffic will have a red light here at this signalized intersection. And one thing I need to note is, and it didn't come through with the simulation, we are keeping one loop ramp open here. It will be the westbound to southbound loop ramp. So the westbound 270 to Lewis and Clark, that loop ramp will remain in place. The other 3 loop ramps will be removed, and we'll be building the new partial turbine flyover, and we'll be having the dual lane on ramp to westbound 270. And then the last part, it's just going to move over to Bell Fountain. And this interchange, actually, I have a photo of it. It's actually it's open now. But this is what that roundabout's how it's gonna function. And I'm gonna go back to my PowerPoint, and I have some photos to show you of construction progress. So this photo up here in the upper left, this is where northbound Lindbergh's going to cross over Dunn Road. And this bridge, actually, they haven't set the girders yet. They're really focused on the Washington Elizabeth Bridge, but this winter they'll be setting those girders and building that bridge. And then if you were in the area this summer, you probably noticed at Lindbergh, we had this great big machine that, I don't know how tall this blue apparatus was, but what that was doing is it was pushing these wick drains into the soil about 100 feet down. And what that allows is they push those wick drains down, and then they come in, they start putting all of their additional fill that they're needing to put to build up the Lindbergh over Dunn and over 270. And those wick drains allow the water that's in the soil to come out quicker and allows that soil to consolidate and settle in a faster time frame. The pictures on the bottom here, these are when they were setting the girders over 270. So these are the northbound Lindbergh Bridge girders over 270. These girders are pre-stressed concrete girders, and I believe they were 159 feet long. And this was a 2-crane operation. So on the lower right, you can see basically this crane picked up this end of the girder over here, and it pulled, and then they used this apparatus to connect this crane to that. And then that crane came back over, and this end of the girder was, still on the back of the semi trailer, and that connected to that. And then the 2 cranes in cooperation were able to lift it onto its the bearing pads. So that was a pretty cool operation to see. But those, again, 159 feet long. Those are some of the largest pre-stressed concrete girders that we have in the state of Missouri. So these photos right here, these are of Old Halls Ferry. This is back in June is when we shut down interstate for the weekend, I think of June 12th. We shut it down Friday night and opened it up late Sunday. But again, they started chipping away and they demolished the old bridge. And you can see them putting up new girders here. And you can see now that they had the deck poured. And this picture on the lower right here, it shows you the new bridge and the black ornamental fencing that's up. One thing that's not shown here is we do have decorative lighting, ornamental lighting along this bridge. So this bridge has, on one side, it has an 8-foot wide multi-use path. And then on the other side, it has a 5-foot wide sidewalk. And both of them are barrier protected. And they both have the fencing on the outside. So they're really nice looking bridges and very similar to what you see on I-64. So these photos right here are showcasing the demolition of the Washington Elizabeth Bridge. So in early August, we demolished this bridge. This was a steel girder bridge. So we had to come through and they used cutting torches to, after they removed the concrete deck, they used cutting torches to remove all of these sections of the girders. And then they excavated back to build these MSE walls. This photo right here, this is showcasing the drilled shafts. So they drill down to rock and then they lower these massive steel rebar cages down in there, and then they fill it up with concrete. And so those are the concrete piers that you'll see that are in the middle of between eastbound and westbound Interstate 270. These are some photos showing some of the other work this summer. We were able to widen Interstate 170. So we widened it with concrete and then we overlaid it with asphalt to make it 3 lanes going southbound on 170. This photo over here, it showcases the building of the new Pershaw between New Florissant and Washington Elizabeth. And this photo right here shows the Bell Fountain Roundabout. And I have a better photo right here. It was taken a couple weeks ago from a drone that Wilson Weber purchased their own drone so they can get better footage of the construction. And so this is that roundabout about a week or 2 ago. It was opened up to traffic yesterday. It's striped and it is up and operational for traffic getting onto or off of Interstate 270 westbound at Bell Fountain. So I would encourage everyone here that's on the meeting to write down this website. It's the i270north.org. It's our project website. We have a lot of information on there. We put our detours when we're going to do a closure. We have interactive detour maps to help people navigate through the closures that we're having. Also, here I have an email that if you have a question, you can send it to this email, this i270north@modot.mo.gov. And if any of you have like an organization that you're active with that would like to have a presentation I'm more than happy to give a presentation. Right now, there'll be Zoom presentations, but I also have, on our team, we have a communications coordinator that is solely focused with communications for this project. So you can either also contact me directly, Justin Wolf. That's my phone number and my email. And we also have Nina Thompson, who's our communications coordinator. And that's her contact information right there. But I would encourage you, if you guys have any questions or concerns, feel free to give me a call or send me an email. That's what I am here. I'm focused 100% on this project all the way through December of 2023. And I'm here to listen and help, people as we're doing this reconstruction and modernization of Interstate 270, because it is very challenging to not only construct an interstate and rebuild bridges in their current location, but it's also very challenging for the residents and for the commuters to navigate the construction that's occurring and the detours that are in place. So I might pop off of this and go back to the project website. One thing I'd like to show you is we do have a webcam, and hopefully I'm not going too late here.
Yeah, we're getting close to the end here. We need to get some questions in, I think.
Okay. You can go ahead and start asking questions, but one thing, if you get a chance, we have a webcam where you can see the progress of
Oh, cool.
Windberg interchange from day one. You can see that machine that's putting up the wick drains. Here you can see they're driving the pile down to rock to build the bridges. There you see that they're starting to add more fill. Pretty soon we'll get to see them put girders up over 270. But this is a chance for you to really see how this interchange is transforming. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing. If we want to have, if people have put questions into the chat, or anyone that wants to chime in and just ask away. I might not be able to answer it right now, but I can definitely get back with you. Hopefully I can answer your questions right now.
I'm monitoring the chat line here. Any questions, anybody? At the bottom of your screen, there should be a place that says chat. Click on that, you can type in a question.
That was pretty thorough. Thank you.
Good. I'm trying to, one thing that's been challenging with COVID is there's so much on people's minds that it's hard to get people's attention and to let them know about this big investment in North County, and to let them know about like these really impactful detours and closures that are really disrupting people's commutes. But the thing I'd like to point out is that Old Halls Ferry Bridge, we tore that out in June, and 100 days later we had that bridge up and running with traffic on it again. Same thing with Washington Elizabeth. They actually only have 90 days from the day that they tore that bridge down to get it back up and running. So that is why they are so diligently working. And I know that a lot of people are impacted by the work zones, but they're working 6 days a week, sometimes 7 days a week to get that bridge up and running, so that that it minimizes the impacts to the people that live in this community.
Hey, Jason, we've got one person that asked about estimated time for the completion. I think you started with that. They may have come in late, December of 2023. Is that correct?
Yes, that is, the project will be completely done by December 1st of 2023.
Excellent. A couple of people said excellent presentation. Here's a person that asked if you could post the link to the time-lapse video. Is that something we can access?
Yeah, let me see if I can do that right now. Like, I might be able to, I might be able to do that right now. And we'll also add in That is our website. And if you go to our website and just scroll down, that time-lapse video is on the front page if you scroll down this one. But I would encourage you, we have a lot of information. I know everyone's got a lot of other things on their minds, but if you ever have questions about the project, first go to that website, and if you don't get your questions answered there, feel free to shoot me an email or call me.
Here's a question from our president. I know this was probably not in the original planning. I want to ask about any consideration of I-270 to the new north campus of the zoo or connecting with the transit center. The new zoo, I think.
So we've had some discussions with the zoo. So that new campus, I believe, is set to open in 2026. I believe when they're going to be opening that. And I know one of their main concerns is actually Riverview. Taking Riverview up to that campus. And unfortunately, like, our project did not extend that far to the east, but IDOT is working to rebuild the Chain of Rocks Bridge. And so that Riverview interchange will be reconstructed. The one thing that still will not be resolved is Riverview does flood from time to time.
Yeah.
And that, unfortunately, is a longer term. Like, that's something that we probably need to, start working with East West Gateway to, find funds to, fix that problem, because that's a more substantial problem that will require a lot more effort to raise that out of that flood area. But we have contacted the zoo, and I know Bellefontaine isn't exactly the prime way to get to that campus, but they are concerned about Riverview, and I know that discussions will continue.
And I
one
guess
last question. I'm sorry, Ellen. I've got one last question.
Say, along those same lines,
okay.
I like what was happening with the Flow Valley to the transit center and so on. Is there any thought of extending that something on the, I guess, to the east with the transit center, to make the transit center far more accessible, available to those people who live to the east and don't have access to, are relying, I guess, on public transit, and bringing them along the corridor, along the 270 corridor to the transit center?
Yeah, and so that, so one thing that we are building is, again, we're building the multi-use path along Pershaw that will go all the way to Old Halls Ferry. So that will provide a better way for people that are walking to get to the transit center. Now, buses leaving the transit center, they'll be able to go eastbound on Pershaw just fine. And, they'll continue on to New Halls Ferry or, Old Halls Ferry. I'm not sure exactly the main bus routes, but I know one of the primary bus routes is more about coming from the transit center to West Force and going north and south in West Force.
Yeah, and I guess I was thinking more of the transit center to the hospital, since they're a large employer.
Yeah,
and so many of the people who work at the hospital depend on public transit, and or actually too, connecting with the Missouri Veterans Home.
Yeah,
but plans for the future.
Metro, we have a tight budget.
I've still got a question from somebody that was very patient. Does the website,
I have a question.
Does the website show the final layout from
Yes.
Lindbergh to 367?
Yes, on the website, it does. I will try to post right now, I will try to find that and put that link into the project right now. Actually, if you go to the website, there'll be final configuration plans. It's just down, and I'm going to post it. And basically, we have strip maps that go from west end of the project all the way to the east end of the project that give good detail of all of the improvements. And I'm popping that in there right there. So, you know, you can scroll through and then you can really zoom in on which interchange you're interested in looking over, because I know it takes a little bit of time to absorb, you know, how some of these intersections and interchanges are going to operate.
Will you be able to come back in a year or two with some updates if we have you, invite you back?
Anytime.
Post-COVID, we hope.
Can I ask one question before you go? I didn't get a screen, so I couldn't put it on the chat questions. But how are you doing as far as on time, behind schedule, or how are you doing as far as time goes on this project?
Luckily, this summer we had very good weather for construction, and so we are progressing on time. So
Okay.
I know right now we're on time to get that bridge, the Washington Elizabeth Bridge, completed by December 1st. And I know all other aspects of the project, we're on time. We have yet to have any kind of utility delay or anything like that that's caused any problems. So we're making good progress. So I'm hopeful that we'll be done before December 1st of 2023. But I mean, it's probably just going to be a few months before then. But maybe have most of the construction wrapped up.
Thank you.
And I see there's another question about any future plans for Lindbergh North and South from Newhalls Ferry to I-270. I'm not aware of any major plans for Lindbergh itself, besides just like, you know, pavement treatment and ADA projects to go through there. I don't know of any kind of like, you know, widening or access management. I'm not aware of anything. So actually, this Interstate 270 North project, it's one of the few MoDOT projects where we're expanding our system. Really, MoDOT's in an asset management situation where we're just trying to take care of what we have. And fortunately, we were able to get the funds to, you know, produce this project. So, and someone has a question unrelated.
Megan, can you speak?
Yeah, I was typing and waiting for my question was about Ellen, you were talking about a $15 yearly fee earlier tonight. I was wondering what's the difference between that and that $75 fee we paid earlier this year?
$75 fee you paid to Old Jamestown Association?
Yes, I'm sorry. I should have mentioned that.
Megan, is
You don't have a $75 fee.
Megan, are you in Castlereagh Estates?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the subdivision assessment. Old Jamestown Association is a separate organization outside of Castlereagh. Good question.
Thank you. What's the $15 fee for? What is that?
The $15 fee is a family membership for 1 year in Old Jamestown Association, which is, we are a civic organization, not a subdivision organization. We're not associated with any specific subdivision, and we represent subdivisions and communities that are not subdivisions within 63034 roughly.
Gotcha.
Okay. And so that's a family one, $10 if you're just a person and wants just a single membership.
Helps pay for mailings.
Yes.
Okay.
And for Zoom licenses.
And sorry, one more quick question. So I've lived here for about 2 years now, and my husband and I, we noticed that the VFW property back on Old Jamestown Road, is that something that maybe the 63034 area could look into purchasing and maybe using for a community space?
I think it's out of
I have that listed for sale. My name's Barb Donor. I'm the vice president. We could not afford that even if we wanted to. So
not even a possibility.
It isn't even a possibility. It isn't even in our wildest dreams.
No.
It would be nice, but
if somebody wanted to give it to us.
Yeah.
My husband is a dreamer, so.
Yeah.
The Old Jamestown Association has about $3,000.
Okay.
That's
and that's why we were asking for everybody to if they could pay their annual dues.
Yeah.
Yeah, we usually
If they
collect
paid
it
them for
at this
the
meeting.
rest of their life, yeah, we couldn't do it, so.
I think we ought to let Jason,
Or Justin.
Justin,
Thank you, Justin. Thank you very much.
Very interesting.
Very in depth, and we really appreciate it. And I do certainly hope you'll come back.
Yeah,
Because I think what we want to see is, what happens in another year or so.
Yeah.
What
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate you guys having me. And like I said, if you're a member of any other organization or would like a presentation, just get a hold of me. Okay.
I'm going to pass that along.
Okay. Thank you.
we appreciate it. Thank you, Jason. Justin.
Thank you.
Good night.
Any other questions before we leave? I want to thank the people who set this up and made this all work. Man Millen?
Yes, you did a great job, as usual.
Jim?
Patty?
Oh, I didn't.
Okay. I know that they were instrumental in making sure that the notices got out. Man Millen worked with the Zoom and got the license in place for us. And Jim has been monitoring how to do the chats and keep everybody on board. And so this was our first experience with this. We hope that you'll give us some feedback about how we did. Okay.
And thank all of you for joining us.
Yes. And we
Thank
could
you.
have up to 100. So, if we do it again, tell your friends. Okay.
We'll try to be a bit more polished next time.
Yes. But we're learning. And so we're encouraged that we can do this and still reach out. Did anybody have any other comments? Well, before we leave?
I think it went very fine.
Thanks, Barb.
Very good. It went very well, so.
Okay, so if you have comments though or questions and you want to give us feedback about the process, you can send it to us directly or send it to me, elutzo@live.com. Okay, and I'll be happy to take your comments and read them. And if you think I talk too much, I'll try to follow those rules too. Okay. Okay. Thanks
Good night.
very much.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you. Great job.